Banks are pressuring customers to make huge mortgage payments when deferrals end. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from the ABC. So banks are pressuring customers to make unrealistic loan repayments as their deferrals end. Well, the banks are not your friend, everyone. Whoever kind of lied to you and said they were, you don't believe them. Borrowers are being pressured by banks to make significant bulk payments as loan deferrals begin wrapping up. Yeah, it's like the balloon payment at the end of a car loan. Last year, the economic impact of coronavirus forced banks to offer home owners mortgage payment holidays. About 10% of borrowers accepted and paused their payments. In July, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority announced banks could extend mortgage holidays to their customers by 4 months to cover a maximum period of 10 months from the start of a repayment deferral or until March 31, whichever came first. With that March deadline looming, Australia's banks had stopped offering automatic mortgage holidays and were beginning to ask customers to begin making repayments. According to the Australian Banking Association, home loan deferrals at Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, National Australia Bank, ANZ, BOQ, Suncorp, Bendigo dropped 80% between June and December, from 493,000 to 101,000. That's still a lot of people that deferred it. Maybe they were just desperate. Maybe they had to. Maybe they just thought, you know what, I am going to build up a cash reserve. Business loan deferrals dropped almost 90% from 228,000 to 25,000 at the 7 banks during the same period. But financial counselling services said while it was great to see people had started repaying mortgages, some banks were forcing customers to make large payments to make up for their deferral. Catherine Temple, Director of Policy at the Consumer Action Law Centre, said the organisation was receiving calls from borrowers who had been told they need to catch up on what they owed. Well, maybe they're being told they need to catch up because they're not going to pay off their mortgage within the time frame if they don't catch up. Do people not realize this isn't the banks being nice? You're going to pay for it one way or another. The banks are probably encouraging you to catch up so you don't push your mortgage out or you don't pay more. I mean, what this is telling me, how many people are paying right to the line, right the minimum amount? How many people are at the edge? We're getting calls from people at the end of their mortgage holiday reporting that their bank is pushing them to make significant extra repayments to clear their arrears rather than simply extending the length of the loan, Ms. Temple said. This kind of response does nothing to build trust with the community. There's trust with the community and banks? Okay. In our experience, there are some people who are being pressured to repay their arrears in bulk amounts that is not affordable. This has caused significant stress and can result in people taking out other loans to cover the mortgage, leading to a debt spiral. Or you know what it could be. This is what I would suspect it is. People have taken the mortgage holidays when they didn't need it, built up a big chunk of cash and just had it sitting there in the bank accounts, and the banks are going, pay that off your mortgage. Catch up. You've got the money sitting right there. Remember the all monies clause. The banks can combine everything together. Kane Johnson is a financial counsellor at the National Debt Helpline and said calls to the hotline were starting to ramp up. They're specifically regarding mortgage referrals. People have called their bank for an extension and it's been declined on unreasonable grounds, he said. Mr. Johnson said one person who deferred his loan by 6 months after losing their job due to the pandemic recently went back to work part-time. He said the man was due to begin full-time work in 3 months and had asked his bank for a 3-month extension, but that the request was rejected. We've also had calls from people who took a 6-month deferral period, and when they could start making repayments again were told they had to pay their arrears in full, which for one person was $20,000. How big is your bloody mortgage? How big are these mortgages? How can people who are paying what, 40 grand a year in mortgage repayments, how can they not have enough money coming in to have an emergency fund, a stash? Maybe they've burned through it all. Remember, they were telling us all that people were ahead. See, I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing fringe cases. We have to be. And then they would be allowed to make regular repayments again. Or go to a different bank if you can. Another client was told they had to pay another $1,000 a month on top of their regular monthly payments to bring their arrears back down. They're not allowed to demand people to do that, Mr. Johnson said. They're supposed to extend the loan term to increase monthly repayments by a little so someone can keep their original loan term. Mr. Johnson said the demands from banks was causing a lot of distress and some people felt betrayed. Well, maybe some people had a dose of reality. To not trust the banks. This is the thing. It's sad to a point that people are so desperate that they've had to depend on this happening. Did anyone plan for mortgage holidays to exist when we had our first recession in 28 years? Did they do that back in the day, back in the last recession, the recession Australia had to have? I don't remember there being mortgage holidays. I remember work suddenly getting quiet for my father's construction firm. One client was told he had to pay his arrears in full, had been in contact with his bank every month during the deferral period, and was never told that would happen, he said. He wanted people to know that even though the deferral period was ending, they still had legal rights. Contact your bank if you still require further assistance, and if you're unhappy with their response, call the National Debt Helpline, he said. Alexander Kelly, Director of Casework at the Financial Rights Legal Center, said people were being rejected by banks when they reached out for help after experiencing a second round of hardship, such as illness or a death in the family. See, this is the thing, everyone. The banks are not our friends. Their good graces are running out. And we're going to start seeing it really hit in March. And even in September then, when the CommBank starts foreclosing on people's houses. Then it'll start to materialize. Then we'll start to see this actual recession. The banks are saying they can't apply for hardship again. They are giving short extensions to loan deferrals like a month, when it's clear that won't help, Ms. Kelly said. They're refusing to extend it because it's no longer COVID related. Well, they can take your house, okay, people? They can take it if they want. Do people not understand this? They're lucky. We're lucky to even have this happen. I still remember all these professionals, six-figure people, who, couple, who were depending on these mortgage holidays to stay in their house. That scares me. That means people have taken on way too much. Or they haven't put anything aside. Is this the hard lesson that we need to learn? I get a sense the banks want to get people paying. They are being quite hard-lined and aren't being sensible to when people are experiencing a new hardship, she said. 3 of the big 4 banks said that while the majority of their customers who had deferred their home loans had restarted their repayments, they will continue to provide support to those who were struggling. A spokesperson for CBA said the bank had moved to the next phase of support for customer recovery, which included recovering payment of debt, which included contacting customers as they approached the end of their temporary loan repayment deferral period to discuss their individual circumstances and available support. The spokesperson said the bank had frozen forced sales for eligible coronavirus home loan deferral customers who were unable to return to full payment until September. A Westpac spokesperson said about 75% of customers who had deferred loan payments had begun to repay. Customers with ongoing financial challenges will receive tailored support on a case-by-case basis. We look at a range of options as part of this process, such as providing more time to get back to regular repayments, the spokesperson said. NAB Group executive Rachel Slade said the bank would continue to provide support to customers based on individual circumstances, such as through reduced loan repayments, payment moratoriums, employment support including resume and interview skills, and access to financial counselors. Why are you going to the bank to learn how to write a resume or interview? Okay. You can't write a resume, you're too dumb to handle an interview, yet you probably get a loan for $1 million. Go Australia. Go Australia. ANZ said banks supportive. Sure he is. An ANZ spokesperson said the bank had been supporting customers through the uncertainty, but regulators have made it clear mortgage deferrals would cease at the end of March. There are a number of options to those who are still experiencing difficulty, whether COVID-related or not. Though these include restructuring their lending to reduce payments, partial payments, or short-term repayment pauses, the spokesperson said. When entering into payment arrangements with customers, we seek to make sure they are sustainable and realistic. Miss Kelly says she understood loan deferrals could not be extended indefinitely, but wanted banks to take a nuanced approach to repayments. There should be hard and fast rules, because that leads to panic. When people panic, they borrow more money and it leads to a bigger problem, she said. If it needs to be done carefully. Everyone wants to get back to paying their loans. People don't want to give up their homes. Some people are. Some people are going to have to give up their homes. This is a recession, guys. This is what happens. Okay? The government has locked down the economy, one state after another after another. Entire industries are completely on government support. This isn't going to go on forever. They're going to start pulling it away. And you might say, oh, let's just keep it all going. Future generations will bear that burden, and then inflation will creep away at the value of your wages and the value of your assets. You know, inflation is another tax, pretty much, that we all have to pay, that the government loves to take to hand out candy. Ms. Temple from the Consumer Action Law Center agreed and said customers needed to know that while automatic loan deferrals were ending, people could still apply for hardship assistance. Banks need to do the right thing by their customers. There's going to be a temptation for the bank to put pressure on customers to repay, but this simply won't be a realistic option for many Australian families, she said. Our message is for people to speak with the bank if they're in financial difficulty, and if you are unhappy with the response, make a complaint to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. And I would suggest, don't trust them. Don't trust the bank. And do whatever you can to work yourself out of this situation where you're no longer dependent on the good graces of a third party to take care of you or to keep your family in the house. That's the challenge, guys. It's not going to be easy for everyone. And this, you know, we're going to start to see the recession's impact manifest over this year. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I collect together here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.